And this November, we're all chanting, it's your turn. Step into the box and make it stick. Vote her up.
The 2024 presidential election is here. MSNBC has the in-depth analysis you need. Our reporters are on the ground. Steve Kornacki is at the big board.
Let's look at that race for 270.
Rachel Maddow and our Decision 2024 team will provide insight as results come in.
The stakes could absolutely not be higher.
And the next day, Morning Joe will give you perspective on what it all means for the future of our country. Election night coverage begins tomorrow at 6 on MSNBC.
We are all back. Tim Alberta, I want to ask you about the violent rhetoric directed at Liz Cheney and the dispatching of Mercedes Schlapp to call General John Kelly, whose own son died serving the country in Afghanistan, a liar. Do any of these people behind closed doors have any regrets or remorse about what they're associated with in these final days?
The short answer, Nicole, is that, yeah, I think some of them do. Matter of fact, I know that some of them do. I've had conversations dating back to midsummer with some of the folks who are in the Trump high command. And at times I've just asked them point blank, like, are you sure that you want to be doing this? And typically, those conversations, not just in this campaign, but over the last 8 years, have been met with a certain kind of good-natured, like, oh, you're just, part of the fake news, you're Trump derangement syndrome, whatever. It's been really interesting to me, just at a kind of observational level, at a human level, how in the last couple of months, a lot of those conversations have sort of gone the way of introspection and almost some, I think, a certain degree of like reflection that some of these folks who are not necessarily prone to reflection, particularly in these kind of high intensity stages of a campaign, where they're thinking aloud about, if I could do this all over again, would I? I had reported in some of my previous pieces earlier in the year about Chris LaCivita, for example, who was very uneasy with Trump and came to work for him anyway and said, well, let's try to get the guy elected and we'll see what happens from there. I think there are a number of people who kind of took on that hired gun mentality who now, if you stuck the truth serum in their arms, I think that they would tell you that they maybe wish they could take it back.
What was it like to hear General John Kelly on tape tell the story of Donald Trump's indifference to men and women who died or were injured serving their country, and to affirm in his own voice that suckers and losers was not only true, but that Donald Trump really has no understanding of men and women who sacrifice for the country?
You know, something I've written about before, Nicole, is that there's this kind of strange phenomenon that happens when people go to work for Donald Trump, which is that especially if they've been on the outside and haven't known him at all, when they get on the inside and they start to get to know him a little bit, they find themselves sort of charmed by him, and they like him, and they become convinced, like, he's actually not this monster that he's portrayed to be. He's actually kind of a nice guy, kind of a fun guy to be around. And there's this sort of honeymoon period where people kind of adjust to that and think, you know, I know something here that others don't. And then when they see him getting attacked from the outside, they'll sort of rally to his defense, and they kind of take on this, you know, foxhole bunker mentality where the incoming is really constant, and so they rally to his defense. But then the longer they're on the inside, I think that they're they become a little bit disillusioned, and some of that honeymoon period starts to fall away. I can think of a couple examples of this in particular, and I have to be careful with how I describe it to protect sources, but I was having a conversation with someone on the Trump campaign right around the time of Kelly's audio coming out. And this person, who's pretty cheerful and consistently kind of pushed back on me about Trump and the man and the candidate, said to me at that time, said, you know, I just don't know, you know, how much longer I can put up with this. And I said, oh, you mean like you don't want to go work in the administration? And he's like, I'm just not sure if I can even ride out this campaign. You know, there is a fatigue and exhaustion, and at times I think it would be accurate to say a disgust for some of these people that has set in. And of course that raises a whole subsequent series of questions around, well, why are you sticking around? Why are you doing this? And I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not equipped, and I don't want to speculate, but I'll just